I don't think people host you at the legislature. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out today of all days with the bad weather. I'm really glad to see so many people here. I hope you'll go back and explain what I saw, what I learned. I didn't go to Israel as part of any group. I went because my heart hurt for people that I haven't seen in a while, but I'm communicating with them. My eyes tear up every time I hear Hatikva, and I had to go. Also, we know Keith Siegel because of Bethel and our friendship with the Siegel family. And so and this hit this. Know that he's from the hospital. Oh, he's a hostage. Keith is a hostage. And I wrote a letter. I wrote an article for JTA, Jewish Telegraphic Agency, which has, last week I got a call from somebody in Iowa who said, Jane, she went to high school with me. I read your article, so it's getting publicity. Keith and I shared a bath many years ago when I rented a room from his parents, and he was a little younger than I am, and I would mystify him, but with little bottles that I would set up of nail polish on the counter, and he'd say, "It's growing, it's growing." And I would see him bicycle up to his high school. He went to Friends Academy when I was in graduate school. But anyway, I did not go as part of any delegation. I just went by myself. I made a list of all the people I knew in Israel, and there were a lot of them. And some of them are recent Olim. So, for instance, Richard's cousins, whom I last saw in Manchester, England. They've made Aliyah. A couple I know from Paris, they've made Aliyah. So I got to see all these people. So plus I have family in Israel. I have cousins, and when my grandmother came to this country in 1907 with her older sisters all made Aliyah. Oh, well, they all came to this country. The brother, with his 4 children, made Aliyah to what was then Palestine, the British Mandate, and his 4 children knew my parents. Their children are friends of mine. And I'm particularly close with 2 of them, with one in particular, Orna, who has led anti-Netanyahu protests for the last year. So she's an educator and a journalist. So I'm going to just go through my my pictures.
Don't.
Yeah, but how do I?
Those 2 computers.
Okay.
Did you happen to?
Excuse me? No, he went before or after I did. So this was inside the terminal at Ben Gurion Airport, protected area. I don't know whether it was in my first trip to Israel. It was not my first trip, but I don't know whether the protected area is something new I just never noticed it before. And there were all sorts of signs in hotels, in maps, wherever I went. Next slide. This is Keith. The entrance hallway from the to the terminal has hostage posters all the way, but this was the one that stood out to me. And I saw this picture repeatedly, all the hostages, but Keith's picture repeatedly throughout my visit. So I went to Kibbutz, Tel Aviv, Kibbutz Gan Shmuel. I used to say Gan Shmuel because that's what I've grown up. No, yeah, but my cousin Orna said to me, "Don't call it Gan Shmuel. You sound like you're from Brooklyn," which is accurate. It's Gan Shmuel. Ranana, Netanya, Kibbutz Gezer, and Jerusalem. This is where I stayed in Tel Aviv, the Abraham Hostel, and it's really super. It's right in downtown, major crossroads. I got to meet lots of people, including a whole group from Hungary. They didn't speak English, but it's all right. They were there to help with the harvest. Groups came in and went out, but I met lots of different people, and I went for walks in Tel Aviv. Wherever I looked, there were posters of the hostages. We won't stop until they're all back. This is what I saw, and meanwhile in New York, people were tearing down these posters of the hostages. But I saw the Israeli flag everywhere. There's a new flavor. Am Yisrael Chai, the ice cream. I didn't taste it. People said it tasted like tahina, but there were flags posted everywhere. The feeling that I engaged in, that I saw on display, was one of national pride and one of defiance. After several months after my trip, people are getting tired. This says, it said, we all speak as one voice, but it's not true. Next. These are posters that I saw in all of the wherever I looked in downtown Tel Aviv. The first one was in a bank. The second one and third one were on the streets. The flags and pictures of the hostages were on display everywhere.
Oh, I missed it.
Even in grocery stores. Now, I went to Hostage Square the first Saturday night I was in Israel. It's in front of the art museum, and there are demonstrations, there are people speaking, there were people, the thing on the left is a clock. It was 126 days that the war had been on, and 126 days since the hostages were taken. The second is an original artwork. Third is a demonstration. Within the demonstration, this is where they have set up a table for Shabbat with all the empty places. There are more and more, there are more and more, depending on what is found. This woman was very defiant. You see a poster for Hirsch, Poland, Goldberg. Yeah, Poland Goldberg. Yeah, and the second one was, on a fence. Just they're ubiquitous, ubiquitous. And the first place that I saw condemnation of Netanyahu was at Hostage Square, and with a bloody hand on his. This was not the most negative poster that I saw. The most negative is in my private collection, not. People who say that Israelis are white, we know that they're wrong. I took these pictures to show that. And you don't have to be Israeli or Ashkenazic to love Israel, because it's all people. I went up to Ranana, Jewish geography. Ranana I was visiting a retired librarian from my home college in New York, which he's originally from Israel. So she was coming home. She was visiting a daughter and her family who live in Israel. And she took me to a shopping center where I went back the next day. But anyway, so turns out that her cousin is married to somebody from Harrisburg, who is the Pennsylvania, who is the older sister of, Richard's former girlfriend from high school. Yeah, yeah. So this is the view when I went to her apartment. I went back the next day after I left her, just to get something for bringing to my next visitors, who would be the Richard's cousins. And I saw this shopping center had all these posters of hostages, and I just lost it. I've been holding it in, but I lost it. I said, how can you stand this? They're around you everywhere. This unbelievable tension that you have to live with all the time. And the owner of this grocery store came out and gave me a hug. He says, we'll be okay. We'll be all right. And I hope he's correct. Much of Israel looks the same today that it did on previous visits. The wall, I had to see the wall. The cats, the markets, and the characters, they're the same. The wall. Okay. On the right is this building. The Center for Conservative Judaism is the home where we of this congregation, and all of them. This is where we went for a Seder a few years ago, and we met a young couple who said, all the restaurants are closed. Why, except this one? Well, we said it's Passover. And think, oh, said my daughter. She said, there was a young couple from Germany. And she said, it's silly of me to think of Passover, only it's Easter weekend. You're here for Easter, right? No. Next. You'll recognize maybe some places in Jerusalem. The subway, the train that moves, it goes to Tel Aviv, by the way, but it goes all the way through Jerusalem, and the cats are everywhere. I had to take a picture. Well, I took pictures of every cat that I saw, but I don't have these on here. Characters. This was in Jerusalem also. These two fellows were playing for people coming into the old city. I stayed in a hostel in the old city. It belonged to the Catholic Church. It wasn't very busy. Most places were not busy, but the streets were crowded. Yeah, I on the bottom right, this lemon tree was on Kibbutz Gan Shmuel, and on the upper right, again a display in Jerusalem of patriotism. Now in Ra'anana, in Netanya, I went with my cousins to a food bank. The upper right is a representation of this food bank. There were boxes and boxes and cartons and cartons. We had to fill for people living in the area who were impoverished. And on the right is two scenes from the mall. There are pictures on the next page that you see boxes and boxes of food for poor people in Israel. And when I posted this picture on Facebook, somebody wrote in and said, oh, but I'm thinking of all the starving people in Gaza. Well, there are hungry people in Israel also. There are people who are poor and impoverished and depend on the handouts of that ordinary citizens given them. By the way, Carrefour, I was really excited to see this. There's a mall in Netanya, and I was very happy to see Carrefour, which is in Paris, and they were selling foods in Israel. This is Netanya. There's an old section and there's a new section, and I don't have any pictures of my cousins, but they live a very nice life in Netanya. Now, this is Kibbutz Gan Shmuel, and this is where I went the first week. It's one of the oldest kibbutzim in Israel, and my cousins are here. Orna, Idit, Hagit, Arella. And so they're my second cousins. And we went for a walk in Gan Shmuel. On the bottom right, Hagit, who lives there, was showing off the what had been built at Gan Shmuel for the soldiers showers that they could have. Uh, these are components of showers that were shipped down to all the bases, and it's part of Israeli culture to take care of the soldiers wherever they are. And wherever I saw them, and there were clusters of soldiers and Mogain David Adam ambulances and motorcycles. Whenever I saw them, I said, thank you for what you're doing. I said, I memorized one sentence before I went. Ani lo midaberet ivrit. Yeah, just to give me some credibility. So then I went to Kibbutz Gezim, and this is Lee Siegel and his wife Shalee. They were speaking to a synagogue group from England who are going to go back and tell the story of Keith and Aviva, who is released. She has worked tirelessly for the release of Keith and the other hostages. So they were speaking to this group, and they're not religious. Most of the people live on kibbutzim are not religious, but there is one factor, there's one force uniting all of the people. There was a sense of urgency, and so now, Arshav, right? The first was in Jerusalem. It didn't matter what the stores were, bring them home now. It's had the message in Hebrew and in English. The first one, to the safe area. This was just at a rest stop on a highway between cities. It just told people where there is a safe place to go. And this got to me, that there is a constant, where's the safe place relative to where you are? The constant fear and the preparedness, and on all sides. Okay, this is Asher and his daughter. She was just about to start training for the search and rescue. We went to an aroma at the mall in Jerusalem. What is this? It's Bizunane. It's right downtown. Yeah. That there's only once did I experience anti-Muslim behavior. And I have to say, I was I wanted to go to the wall, and I knew not to go on a certain path, because if you stop, the women will come up to you and try to sell you bundles and So I was with the rest of the crowd going, there was somebody wearing a keffiyeh. I should have gotten a clue from this, but I didn't. Anyway, it narrowed and got to a point where there were soldiers blocking the way and checking to see that you were really Muslim to go to the Temple Mount. And I wasn't. So they were not nice. They were really I was against a wall, and I said to the soldiers, I'm going to the wall, to the hotel. They heard my accent. They said, but this was, I noticed it. It was not very nice. I didn't understand the words exchanged. Okay, what does the future hold? I saw this. This was at the entrance to a garage, and a public garage. It was very nice. It has all kinds of people, that are in Jerusalem. And I thought, that's idealistic. That's the way it should be. When I left, this is the exit of to the at the airport. I'm sure it's familiar. And one of the last faces that I saw in Israel. So I am willing to take questions. There's another picture.
Yes.
This was a picture that I saw. Yes,
I just wanted to say, the two things you didn't say
yes.
was that Dean's equal is the brother of Pete,
Oh, yes.
and also that Asher Zeiger is a son of Zeiger's director right now.
Yeah, okay,
Everybody might know that.
that's right. It was really great to see Asher. I knew Asher's, I've known Asher since he was a student at Chapel Hill High School, where I taught in previous life. Yes,
I recently heard of an Israeli psychologist, Gabin, and he made a couple of observations, and I know that you went to Windsor. One thing that said was, right after October 7th, the Israelis were all united, but right now, his opinion, there's these divisions between those that want the hostages back. Any price, stop the war, ceasefire, forget about the second call. And then on the other side, after fighting until we get much. That's number one. The other thing he said, in his opinion, that the Israelis love the soldiers, but they don't love the army.
well,
It's just kind of like,
I don't speak enough Hebrew to interview soldiers in the army, but soldiers, you hear stories about people. Asher told the story about people who would bring iced coffee to the soldiers on guard duty. Or they're everywhere. You love them. They're watching out for you. On the other hand, we all know the stories of the guards at kibbutzim who for months would say to their superiors, they're planning something, and they were ignored. And that's the military. So that's the higher ups and the individual soldiers. Yeah, I could see this division. And also, the way that people are together, they support the soldiers. My mother remembers one of her cousins saying, in peacetime, Israelis will fight over a teaspoonful of water. Right? But if there's a crisis, they all unite. And so I saw this as well. Asher put it brilliantly when he said, there's no one among Israelis who wants the war to go on. They all want it to end. But at what price? So I met an American woman. She was with a group of mothers protesting. And I said to her, what's going on. She says, we want to be allowed to finish the job. Because if we don't, it will go on and on and on, and the children of these soldiers will have to finish. The finish the job. So there, it must be more tense than when I was there. It must be more tense. Yes.
So, I want to know, in each of the places you went, were you offering your services? You said you help box, or did you pick fruit, or what did you do?
No, the only thing I did was help this one day at box food. Mostly I was going on a goodwill mission of my own, just to see people, but they really appreciated it. My cousins appreciated it, that I came to see them and visit them. And in my own small way, I contributed to the Israeli economy. I stopped and spoke to as many people as I could, but given my limitations in Hebrew, you know, I couldn't. I went on 2 visits to this bookstore, Halper's bookstore, in the old city of Tel Aviv, which is run by a man from New Jersey named Halper, who has been there for 35 years. And I went back a couple of times. I bought books. Did I need to buy books? Do I need more books in my house? No, but I wanted to help. Yeah.
You say we're offering support. And that is very.
I just offered moral support.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said that you only saw one instance of anti-Muslim behavior.
Yeah.
But you didn't describe what form did that take? What happened?
The soldiers at the checkpoint were being hostile, I could tell, even if I couldn't understand the words, they were being hostile, they were yelling, that people were yelling back at them, and they were being hassled. Yes.
I also want to say that, I'm specific to go and I know.
Wait.
And speaking of the people, following opportunities to go, and, if you want to do a number of things like your family, the society, and volunteer, get onto a, Facebook research media of, pages online and
There's a button to turn it on. No, can't hear it.
I don't want to say
They can't figure it.
It's okay, just ask it. I'll type it for the Zoom people.
Israel, volunteer opportunities. And they, every day, they miss problems that come here, and they miss, just think about making donations, they go over and putting them out to families and states, for people, that kind of stuff. They really are a one-stop resource for Israel opportunities. There are other sites, and the first one I found was the most reliable, most stable, and they put it from other volunteer organizations, right? They hit Israel, the started of that, they're getting a lot of songs, the agriculture, from. You know, they get something to it, and you get actually great things to see. Yes, like me, so like a good, like a, it's pretty hard. I think some chooses not to be very nice. Great, but I'm sure days great other things. So, I have to give you, like, that was so like seeing my friends were at life and they're all like, all the one what's going on, and it was super warm and therapeutic for them. But what's very cool is that they actually say those, and Gabin was all the tourist sites are open. They're very important to tourists. So if you go, archaeological sites. Have you opened the whole lot? I think they can look at, in the other, anyways, I mean, as I didn't feel have one.
People really appreciate visits. You can buy things or not. They just want contact with people on the outside. Stephanie Greenberg, you may know her. She is a nurse and she worked in an emergency room. And she tried to go through the channels, finally she just went and showed up at Hadassah Hospital and she said, I'm a nurse, use me. And they were happy. And she was there for a month. So, yeah.
I don't have a question. Sorry.
Oh,
I think in response to what, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Sharon,
Sure. The response to what Sharon asked the microphone about social behavior to the Muslims. You have to remember and keep in mind that they, the soldiers, are nervous, they're on edge. They are in a constant state of alarm when dealing with the Muslims, interacting with them. You never know, they never knew when somebody would come with a knife, a man or a woman, or even a youngster. And there are many, they have to handle many of them. And there is the element of intense hate. The Muslims hate the Israelis and they double hate or the Jews, they're Jews, they're soldiers. They double hate the soldiers. They call them every kind of name. So when the soldiers handling them like loose, it's not correct, it's not appropriate, but one can understand. It's reality. It's reality there. These Muslims, they're not Americans who are patient and wait online for it as long as necessary without a fee. They're not. They are Muslims in the Middle East who hate the Israelis. That's the story. The elements like that. But I would say, the community around there said to me that if they go into business, the hospitals that they're in are staffed by, Arab Israelis. Muslim, they're not Muslim, I guess, Arabs. And they trust them. Because they're taking care of the hospital, they're doing surgery, falling into the vast majority of, people I spoke to now, I said, we're really not having a problem with our Arab population in Israel. But there are, nationals. And East Jerusalem is definitely a flashpoint. And Calabria is a flashpoint. There are areas where there is very acute hostility about that. But I just want to say, you would be astonished at how well integrated the Arab Israeli population is, professionally.
this thing, the last sentence you
How
said.
well integrated they are, you'd be amazed how well integrated they are. In fact, the Israeli conflict. It couldn't be that these people were all 18 to 20. It couldn't be that they would be working in these roles, but they are, because in fact, they're Israelis.
Given all the ubiquitous nature of the original now society.
Speak louder.
Are there any, is there any public stance on display about Gazans? And
Is there any public display about Gaza? About Gaza, Gaza, the people? No. No, I didn't see anything. No. Yes.
Asking if Jane has any response and comment about Netanyahu speaking at the American Congress and the split in our government leaders over the LGBT and an attitude of Israelis that we may know about Netanyahu.
Okay. I watched about half of Netanyahu's speech to Congress and left. First of all, I'd heard it all. I'd read it all. He was just rehashing the what has been said about Israel. Second, most of Israel can't stand him. Most of Israel does not like him. I saw anti-Netanyahu posters, stickers, placards all over Israel. My cousins don't like him. My cousins are in this movement to rid the country of Netanyahu. I don't know what it would be like if Netanyahu gave up, if he turned the reins of power over to somebody else. I don't know, but he'd be in jail. There's a split in the way Israelis, they want their hostages back. They don't want to trust the Gazans anymore the way they used to. They want peace. They don't want peace at any cost. They're split on Netanyahu. They're split on their own behavior. There's some of the people, they want him out. Some of the people want him to stay and show how strong Israel is. And other people just want to live. They just want to live. And most of the people I visited, that's what their concern is, that they want to live and their children should have a secure future. And we didn't get into politics. Yes.
What are the specifics of the reasons that they don't like Netanyahu? I know there's a long history. What are the arguments against Netanyahu? And I know it's not a very recent thing.
Turn towards you.
What?
You give it to me.
Oh,
Okay. I didn't engage in specifics.
didn't volunteer anything about why they don't like him, power hungry, or he's doing something about.
He's hungry. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the hostages. He doesn't care about the individuals who are fighting. He only cares about his status.
I think I might be able to provide you one kind of answer. Netanyahu has lots of lawsuits going on, and he's in trouble. Whether what he did, what he took, what he was given,
Corruption.
what,
Corruption. Yes.
and he would be in big trouble if he was not the prime minister. He may have to go to prison or something like that. Who knows? I doubt it, but in any case, they say, the Israelis say that he is maintaining the war is going on before in order to stay out of jail. I have Israeli cousins whom I'm very close to. I speak to them about twice a week. And I lived in Israel for 4 years. And I've been there many years. And I've never heard articulated why they don't like Netanyahu all that much. That I heard. He's gonna go to prison, he doesn't wanna go to prison, and that's why he's maintaining the war. It's a personal mission to stay out of jail. They do not attribute to him feelings of, love of country or anything like that. They just view him as a corrupt person who wants to stay out of jail and wants power. At any cost, he doesn't care as long as.
Okay, I'll give it to
Yes,
So, on October 6th, 250,000 were in the street opposing Netanyahu and his chiseled together right-wing government, which was trying to take away the rights of the Supreme Court to have final decisions. That this was going to be this right-wing government that are holding Netanyahu up. That Netanyahu has this group of ultra conservative right-wing people who wanted religious power, and half of the country were in the streets rioting peacefully. What I loved about, and I was active in marches in this country supporting it, is that in this country somehow Republicans and the conservatives seem to own the American flag, and liberals don't have the flag when we have demonstrations. In Israel, I loved it, like I could never, if I watched television, which side was which, because both sides were waving Israeli flags, which I loved. October 7th, everybody came together, and there were no more riots in the street. And what we're finding now is the anger and frustration that the hostages haven't been, first of all, that this government didn't have its eye on politics, on what was happening. They had soldiers on the border who were all women who were reporting that the cameras were out. They were reporting that Hamas was congregating and having these drills right over the fence. And they were discounted because they were women. They weren't given weapons, and they were the first to die when Hamas broke through the wall. And so there was an enormous failure of intelligence, of belief in the women. And so even though Israel came together on October 7th, the fact that these hostages have continued to suffer, and many have been killed, and probably all the women have been raped. And you know what, the frustration that this isn't number one. I listened to the entire speech of Netanyahu. I thought he was erudite and elegant. At the same time, how dare he not make the hostages front and center? How dare he not talk about what he was going to do to get peace? So, there's a lot of frustration, which I think is the main thing right now on both sides. There's frustration for those who hated Netanyahu before and hate him even more now. And what he keeps saying, and what the head of the military says, there will be time after the war to prosecute all these people for a failure at the top because they didn't have their eye what was going on. But that is starting to wear thin. So even people who wanted to give this government, because we're in a time of war and this military, okay, the benefit of the doubt for right now, why haven't they gotten the hostages out? Why haven't they completed the war? So in addition to all of his criminal cases that by staying in power, he didn't have to go to jail, we have all this additional stuff.
Well, that's why I didn't watch the
the entire speech. And he has never once, I don't know if I mentioned this, he had never once been to Hostage Square. Not once. Not once. Yes.
Right. No, that's.
The majority of the people can't stand him and they want him out. But I spoke just to friends and relatives. None of them like Netanyahu, but they are all on the side of the hostages. They want the hostages back, and they don't want to wait for them all to be found dead. This is what the signs in the time that I visited and now, this is the difference that is seen.
I agree with everything that's been said anti-Netanyahu, and I can't believe I'm going to be speaking for him. Because this speech that he gave at our Congress was not for Israelis. It was for the Americans who don't know their history, the college kids, the protesters who were burning American flags in our Capitol and putting up Palestinian flags. They don't know what they're representing. From the river to the sea, they don't know what river and what sea. He was speaking to America that we need to support Israel because they've got things going on at every border now between Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis. The enemies of Israel are trying to destroy Israel, and he had a point. It's Iran who's behind all of it. Iran is close to having nuclear weapons. And where next? He made the point in that speech that Israel is standing between Iran and America. And they are. They're the first, they're at the front lines. After Israel, where next? Iran is, they've got, he didn't say that, I don't think he said this. Yes, he did. But I've heard it elsewhere. That Iran has been paying those college students on campus. He said it. And he was, and probably paying for the people who are burning American flags in our capital. So whatever you think about Netanyahu, and I agree with everything that was said, he should be, the hostages should be number one right now. Right now, number one, get them home. I have cousins in Jerusalem. They know Netanyahu personally. And they just have different opinions. They can't get together with friends because the friends hate him, hate Netanyahu. And my cousin's husband was a personal friend of Netanyahu.
How many people here have relatives in Israel? So a majority, at least half.
I just wondered, did you feel in danger?
No, I never felt.
But were you warned not to go south? Or did you go south at all?
Yeah, I went with my cousin. We went to Ramon Crater. That's as far south as we.
No, as I said,
I never felt.
the minority.
No.
I'm anti all the things that were said about Netanyahu.
Actually, if you listen to me, I said that his speech was brilliant and very good. So even though he's a scoundrel, I think everybody should go to YouTube and listen to his speech for all the
I
reasons
think
you
the speech was very important to
I
the
do.
American people.
I agree.
American people do not know history.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
The whole beginning of his speech was worth hearing because he gave the history.
Yeah, the whole speech.
The whole speech.
Yeah. But I saw only people who were happy to see an American, happy to see a visitor. These are the reflections. It is a deeply divided country, but it's united in wanting to win the war and bring the hostages home. I don't know if it can be accomplished, but we'll wait and see. I don't, one more and then we.
divide. Separately, they were like, you go, maybe go, don't think about the Democrats and the Jewish, yeah, you know, vice versa, you know, having the little sound, divide that different. In Israel, they really are very close to each other, and it's a very vibrant democracy. There are 95 vibrant, you know, lying for power, and they really are each other. You know, they made it. I mean, it's like, I think a very remarkable democracy, for how much people talk about really important things. And my husband, and I just constantly shout, it's important to get them up right now, because, well, and that's a state of abundance of the situation is that, you know, they don't love it. It's kind of, they can't get rid of that now. But, you know, they don't talk about it. Yeah. But right now,
Thank you. Thank you all for coming today and for taking my pictures and hearing my, and willing for anything privately. Thank you.
Stop.
Ooh.